The earth had seen great armies before, but nothing like what was coming from Macedonia. 2 thrones, 2 worlds. One collision that would remake the entire ancient world forever. Macedonia was small, hungry, and dangerous. Persia was vast, ancient, and seemingly impossible to defeat. He was 20 years old when he crossed into Asia. He had never lost a battle. Darius III ruled the greatest empire humanity had ever built. He had never faced a man like this. In the mountain valleys of Macedonia, a new kind of army was being forged, precise and ruthless. The Sarissa phalanx moved as a single body. 18 feet of iron aimed at everything Persia had ever built. Persepolis gleamed with the tribute of 30 nations. No city on earth was richer, not yet. From Egypt to India, Darius assembled his world. Every nation he owned marched beneath his banner. When the Macedonian army crossed the Hellespont, it wasn't just a river crossing. It was a point of no return. He drove his spear into Asian soil the moment he landed. He declared it his. He meant every word. At the Granicus River, his generals urged patience and caution. He ordered a full charge instead. It worked. Horses plunged into the current at full gallop. Arrows hit the water all around them. Nobody stopped. In under an hour, the Persian defensive line was shattered. The ancient world had just met a new kind of war. City after city opened its gates as the Macedonians advanced. To the Greeks, he came as a liberator. The news from Granicus reached Darius like a cold hand slowly closing around the throat of his empire. At Gordium, a legendary knot that no man could untie had been waiting centuries for the right kind of madness. He didn't try to untie it, he drew his sword and cut it in half. The prophecy never specified how. Darius marched west with over 100,000 men. Alexander marched south. They passed each other through the mountains without knowing. Issus was a narrow coastal corridor barely 4 miles wide. Darius had accidentally chosen the one battlefield that destroyed his advantage. The Macedonians were outnumbered 5-1 at Issus. It didn't matter. They had the terrain, and they had him. The companion cavalry locked into their legendary wedge formation. Every time that formation moved at full gallop, empires ended. The charge across the Panaris River was not reckless courage. It was a precise surgical strike aimed directly at one man's nerve. Darius watched his entire left flank dissolve in minutes. For the very first time in his reign, doubt crossed his face. The phalanx drove forward across the river. The cavalry drove inward from the flank. The Persian army was being folded in two. The great king turned his royal chariot and fled the battlefield. Behind him, the greatest army in the world became a running mob. By sunset at Issus, 100,000 soldiers were running in every direction. 1 hour earlier, they had been an empire to march. Inside the captured Persian royal tent, Alexander walked slowly through gold furniture, silver bathtubs, and silk carpets 6 inches deep. The royal women of Persia knelt before their captor in terror. He raised them to their feet and treated them as queens. Tyre sat on the open sea like a fortress God had personally designed. It had never fallen in recorded history. Not once. Alexander built a stone road across the ocean to reach its walls. 200 meters of pure human refusal against geography. 7 months of siege. Then the walls finally broke and Tyre burned. He had decided that nothing was allowed to remain impossible. Egypt offered no resistance. The priests welcomed him as pharaoh and liberator. He accepted both titles without hesitation. At the desert oracle of Siwa, the priests told Alexander what he had already long believed about his own divine nature. He designed Alexandria himself in the sand using a stick. The city he sketched that day would outlive everything he ever conquered. Darius offered half his entire empire for peace. His senior general said they should accept it. Alexander said he already owned all of it. The Persian peace offer was returned unanswered. There was nothing left between these two men to negotiate. There never had been. For Gaugamela, Darius chose the flattest plain in all of Mesopotamia. He personally leveled it for his chariots. It still wasn't enough. The night before Gaugamela, the Persian campfires stretched across the entire horizon like a second sky full of stars. At dawn, the Persian army filled the entire visible earth. Chariots, war elephants, 40,000 cavalry, and one Macedonian formation that didn't blink. The scythed chariots charged at full speed across the prepared ground. The phalanx simply opened gaps and let them pass through harmlessly. One gap appeared in the Persian left line for one single second. The companion cavalry found it and turned inward toward the king himself. Through choking dust and crashing iron and screaming horses, Alexander drove his wedge directly at Darius, not at his army. At the man. For the second time in 2 years, the Persian great king turned his royal chariot away from battle and fled the field. The Persian army didn't retreat at Gaugamela. It dissolved outward from the center, like a wave running backward all the way to the sea. Babylon opened its great gates without a single blow struck. The oldest living city in the world bowed to history's youngest conqueror. The treasury chambers of Persepolis held 200 years of accumulated imperial wealth. It took the Macedonians 3 full months just to count it. That night Persepolis burned. Whether the order was deliberate or the fire accidental, the palace did not survive the question. Darius III, great king of kings, master of 30 nations, lord of the known world, was now a fugitive riding by night. His own Persian nobles stabbed him on a dusty road in Parthia. They heard Macedonian horses approaching in the dark, and they ran. Alexander found him dying alone in the dirt. He removed his own military cloak and laid it gently over the dying king. In 11 years, one man had personally conquered everything from Greece to the edge of India. No one in history has done it since, but he could not stop moving. The edge of every map was a wound that kept pulling him forward into the unknown. His generals were exhausted, aging, and finished. He stood at the banks of the Indus wanting more. His army refused to follow. He returned to Babylon a changed man. The city was exactly as he had left it. The conqueror inside him was not. A fever took him in Babylon at the age of 32. The man who had never lost a single battle lost this one. The empire kept running the morning after he died. The roads still carried trade. The cities still stood. The world he made outlived its maker. The carved columns of Persepolis still stand in Iran today. 2,300 years of wind and time have not moved them. His empire divided into 3 successor kingdoms. But every single one of them spoke Greek and thought in Greek. That was his real lasting conquest. A silver coin struck in Babylon. His face pressed into the metal. 2 civilizations preserved together in a museum case for 2,000 years. The plain of Gaugamela is empty farmland in Iraq today. No marker stands there. Nothing explains what the world decided on this ground. Babylon still waits beside the Euphrates. The story that began here never truly ended. History never does. From Macedonia to India, 11 years. One man. One impossible line of fire drawn across the entire ancient world. And somewhere between the battles and the burning cities and the silver coins and the silent ruins, the world changed. Permanently, irreversibly, forever.